I'm Marcus.
I'm Ryan.
And together,
we are the Northwest Sports Fanatics.
Sorry about the long hiatus. We've been missing in action for a couple of weeks now.
Yeah.
But we back at you guys. We promise to get you a new video each and every day.
Right.
All right. So one of the things that's been happening since we've been gone is the NBA draft.
The draft.
Ball in. So we just want to go over a couple of our winners and losers from this past NBA draft.
All right.
I'll definitely kick it off. My winners, one of my winners, first up, I'm going to go with, of course, the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Wiggins, the franchise.
You get Andrew Wiggins, probably the most hyped prospect since LeBron coming in.
I would agree.
And another pickup that I like what they did is they picked up Joe Harris. Kind of a Kyle Corbett type of player, great shooter, hard-nosed, gritty. He's going to do everything the coach asks for him. So shout out to the Cavaliers. What do you think about those picks?
I like those picks, and you got to think they went number one last year and got Anthony Bennett,
right.
And we haven't really seen a team get back-to-back number one picks since maybe the Spurs.
Mm-hmm.
When you had the Tim Duncan,
mm-hmm.
and then before you had Orlando with Chris Webber,
mm-hmm.
And Shaq. So I mean, it's kind of unusual, but I think they really did hit it on the head this year. You could have went Jabari Parker too,
mm-hmm.
but I think for what they're trying to accomplish in Cleveland, if they don't get LeBron,
mm-hmm.
at least you got a star that you can build off of. Obviously in Cleveland, now you just got to worry about a coach.
That's a great pick, and I think he complements the pieces that they already have a little better. Because to me, Parker and Dion Waiters,
right.
He's kind of the same kind of type of player, shooting guard, scorer. But with Wiggins, he's more faster. He's going to get up and down.
Right.
And
Wiggins is a shooting guard,
right.
and Jabari's a small forward. So I mean, different positions
right.
too.
So all right. Next up, I want to go with the Boston Celtics.
Nice little draft they had.
Wow. They picked up Marcus Smart from Oklahoma State.
Right. Don't piss him off, or he come into the crowd and he'll punch you.
Don't play no games with him out there. He's about that life. Next up, they went James Young.
Right, I like that pick.
So they picked up two young athletic players to bolster their backcourt. So with that, question marks around Rondo. Are they going to trade him? Is he still going to be there?
Is Kevin Love going to come to Boston, even though they say they're not recruiting him, but
mm-hmm.
kind of secretly they are? So
read between the lines. So I definitely like what Danny Ainge is putting together there. For the young coach from Butler for him.
Right.
My last winner that I loved was the Orlando Magic. Now, a lot of people didn't agree with me with this, but, you pick up Aaron Gordon,
okay.
which is by far one of the top two athletes in this whole draft.
Baby Blake Griffin.
Looks
like him, plays like him.
Exactly. And then you pick up Elfrid Payton. I think he's a little underrated. He does need to work on his shooting stroke a little bit. But as far as getting to the rim, attacking, and making plays for his other teammates, definitely one of the best point guards in this draft.
And they just released Jameer Nelson, so now the pick actually makes sense. Because when
mm-hmm.
you had him still on the roster, you're like, well,
mm-hmm.
there's other players you could have picked.
Mm-hmm.
But now, obviously, with Jameer Nelson getting released like 3 hours ago,
so
makes sense.
So with Vucevic down there, the big man down low,
okay,
you got Aaron Gordon now.
Beast.
You got a point guard and Peyton.
Right. You got Oladipo.
And you got Oladipo.
Yeah.
So that's a nice little nucleus for Jock Vaughn to work with. See if
I'd like to see them get a better coach, but
mm-hmm.
I do like what they're doing. I mean, they're making moves,
right.
and they're actually. I mean, you got to think Oladipo was the most safe pick in the draft last year, and they hit it on the head. Mm-hmm. He might have not won Rookie of the Year, but to me, he was one of the most consistent beside Michael Carter-Williams and maybe Trey Burke.
Night in and out, night out. Oladipo was to be counted on.
Right.
Now, what about some of your winners of this?
Man, okay, so I'm a Blazer fan, so if I have to shout out a team like the Lakers as my first winner, wow, it's kind of hard. But I really like Julius Randle, right? From Kentucky. He's baby Zebo, baby Terrence Jones,
mm-hmm.
From obviously Memphis and obviously Houston. He's a lefty. He's smooth. He's got good footwork.
Mm-hmm.
He's the most NBA-ready player to me besides Jabari Parker. I think that he's going to come in on LA. It's almost like Lamar Odom is reborn again. And you don't even need a Kardashian this time, right?
Don't sleep on this athleticism,
right?
Man. Randle is pretty athletic.
I'm pretty sure if he gets the playing time, a double-double is in the mix every night for him. And to me, honestly, he was the third best pick in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
He could have went top 3, but he slid to 7. So Lakers, salute to you. You guys made a great pick. Now Kobe has someone he can kind of go to. And then the rumor is Pau Gasol, he may leave, But if he comes back, that kind of makes him a little bit better too. And Jordan Clarkson at 46.
Nice.
I don't think it's as good as the Randall pick, but for overall, the Lakers had a great draft. I got to shout out to them. And then number 2, I got to go Oklahoma City Thunder.
Of course.
All right. So you had Kendrick Perkins. He's kind of getting old, right? And you had some of the post guys down low. Thabit. Some of these guys, they can't score when they get the ball down low. So if Durant's off and Westbrook is off, and and if not their roster, Cephalosha's not making shots. You got some of the post players; they just can't make any buckets, right? Steven Adams, I like.
Right,
he did okay, but when you give him the ball down low,
it's no good.
He's no Tiago Splitter.
Yeah.
He ain't gonna finish down low. So now what you did to counteract that, you got Mitch McGary, right from Michigan, power forward / center. He's a
shoot that ball.
Right, he's a scrapper. Now he was injured for Michigan almost the whole year, so he slid in the draft at 21. But they got a steal with this pick. I think he's going to play really well. And as some of the older veterans, I think we're going to mentor him a little bit. And then they got Josh Huestis. How did they get him at 29? I mean, they really cleaned up at the power forward center position. So I really like that. And then last but not least, I got to go the Knicks. Mr. Phil Jackson, right?
I love it.
Right, so Melo might be out.
Yep.
But you picked up baby Melo, right? Cleanthony Early.
Of course.
And how did he slide to 34 in the second round? I have no idea. I mean,
you can't tell me that there's 34 better players in college this past year than Cleanthony Early.
Right, and if you watch college basketball with Wichita State, I mean, they went undefeated pretty much towards the end of the season because of Cleanthony Early. He reminds me of Melo with a little Ron Artest. He's a little chubby, but he's got some skills, obviously, to shoot the three. He can drive. He's a good player overall. His defense is actually a little underrated as well. Right. And then you got Antetokounmpo's brother.
Wow.
So you picked him up too, right? And not as good as his brother on Milwaukee, but he is a project.
Yeah.
And so we'll have to see where that goes. But those are my top 3, obviously, I think, right now. What about our losers?
Wow, the loser side of the things. There's always winners and losers.
Right.
Now, losers, I hate to say this, but my Washington Wizards.
I'm going to have to agree with you as well. I mean,
the Blazers, no draft.
Blazers as well. No draft picks. What are we doing?
Draft. All right, that's enough about that. My second loser I have is nothing against C.J. Wilcox, from UW out here. I support all the local athletes out here. I think he's a great shooter. But for them, for the Clippers to draft him at 28, where last year you drafted a similar player around the same 30 to 32 range, and Reggie Bullock, and you come back, there was better options there. You could have had Cleanthony Early. You could have had Glenn Robinson,
right?
A more athletic wing instead of the shooter type of hybrid player that you're looking for. Oh man, I just think that was a bad pick. You're doubling up. You got 2 of the same type of players, and you're a loser in my loser section.
He's a loser in the loser section.
Yeah, the losers in the loser section.
And then I think for me, for my last one, besides Wizards and Blazers, just because we, by default we had no picks and there was some good draft talent, I think you got to go number 1, Raptors. So Toronto, right? You should have beat Brooklyn this year in the playoffs. I was really rooting for you, Drake. Rooting for you or not. I mean, you got a nice little squad there.
Thanks for the lint roller. Put me into the lint roller.
OVO, right? OVO, I got that right. But then you picked at number 20 Bruno Kolobko, who? Right? And you had a lot of players you could have picked. You could have picked Shabazz Napier.
Ooh.
You could have picked Cleanthony Early.
Ooh.
You could have picked Rodney Hood.
Ooh.
You could have picked Mitch McGary. You could have picked Gary Harris. And these guys are playing.
Gary Harris.
So, I mean, all those guys were available, And then I like the second pick, DeAndre Daniels from UConn at 37. But, I mean, you really missed out on an opportunity to get a really solid player to build that franchise, especially if Lowry and he might be on the way out, right? And obviously you had Lou Williams just got traded. Obviously I think for John Salmons just about an hour ago. So now you got your future point guard, right? You got him there, and you got the good backup already set in place, and you have pieces. But what if you would have got a guy like Gary Harris? What if you would have got a Cleanthony Early? I mean, it could have really made that extra push.
Yeah.
Where they would get out of the next round, out of the first round next year. Who is your last pick? Do you have another one that you didn't really like?
Those typically all of my losers that I have down here. You have any more?
That's pretty much what I have as the losers right now. I mean,
there's some that you want to put there, but then you kind of gotta wait. But those are the ones that jumped off the paper just by looking at it.
Yeah, and especially if that team picks a lot of European players. Sometimes you don't really know if they're going to pan out. When are they coming over to the U.S.? Are they going to play in a year or 2 years? But I think we have one more team we need to shout out before we get off. is for a winner. We got to go San Antonio Spurs.
Of course.
Right, Mr.
always win.
Popovich. Right, so you picked UCLA, right, with Kyle Anderson. Is that his name? Kyle Anderson. Right? He's 6'8", 6'9".
Boris Diaw
Jr., he can play the 1. He actually played the point guard position at that height.
Yeah.
So it's almost like Magic Johnson reincarnated, but he actually can play the 2, the 3, and the 4. And so to you, sport people that may not know what we're talking about, we're talking point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward. So pretty versatile, and obviously Tim Duncan said he's coming back. So it gives you just another weapon, maybe to replace Boris Diaw if he ends up kind of, taking less minutes. But I think we got to shout out the Spurs,
right now, they're the favorite.
They got to be the favorite. I mean, and then obviously with the Miami, with Bosh, Wade, and LeBron all opting out. Yep. Are they coming back to Miami? Are they going somewhere else together?
That's another video.
That will be another video. So that is our NBA draft recap, winners and losers.
Yes, sir.
Make sure to follow us on, obviously the Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram.
Tell a friend to tell a friend and tell a friend.
Northwest Sports Fanatics. Let's go.